In this video, we're going to talk about the role of managerial finance. And in particular, we're going to start this video talking about the relationship between finance and decision making and the firm. So the first thing is, what is finance itself? Well, it can be defined as the science and art of managing money. The science piece relates to more of the hard aspects of finance, the research, the tools and techniques that we use. But the art of managing money is something that it's experiential as far as the learning, right? Most of us are not born with the ability to manage money, but we acquire those skills over time. From a personal level, finance is all about individuals' decisions, right? How much of their earnings are they spending, right? How much are they saving? Where are they actually saving? So those are the questions at the personal level of finance. From the business perspective, it's very similar, right? How do firms raise money? Where's the money come from? When it comes from investors, how do we get that money? How do firms invest money to earn a profit, right? Where do they put their money? How are they saving or investing those dollars? And finally, once a company has operations underway and they're making profit, how do they get the returns back to their investors? So managerial finance concerns the duties of the financial manager in a business. So what are their actual tasks again? Number one, they're investing, right? They're investing in the securities of other companies. Maybe they're just buying other companies. They're investing in operating assets. This is capital budgeting that we'll talk about in some later videos. Financing. It's both long-term and short-term. Long-term is for the growth and expansion of the company, where short-term is really concerned with the management of cash. Now, one of the things that's, I don't want to say it's confusing. I mean, one of the things that's mistaken frequently is that the things that we're going to talk about in this course, even though we have a bent towards corporations, it doesn't matter the kind of business. They could be a private or a public business. They could be large or small, profit-seeking, not-for-profit. All companies can utilize the tasks, the techniques, and the tools that we discuss in this course. So what is a company, right? It's an organization. It's either going to sell some goods or services. They exist because investors want access to risky investment opportunities. Now, that's not that we want risk per se, but we understand that in order for you to make money, you have to take some risks. So what is involved here with the firm? One good place to start is kind of think about what is the goal of the company, right? Why does the company exist? Investors give companies money, whether they be creditors or shareholders. They provide funds to the company. They expect something in return. Creditors know exactly what they're going to get. They get interest, and of course, they get their money back because it's a loan. But shareholders expect something more. They anticipate, or they would like to get income in the form of dividends, but primarily, people invest in corporations to grow their wealth. So the primary goal of a manager for a company should be to maximize the wealth of the firm's owners. That's just like saying they need to make the stock price increase. Does profit maximization lead to the highest possible share price? And the answer to that is not always, right? And I want to kind of emphasize profits are very important. However, they're not the most important thing. And when we're talking about making decisions, we have to think about the variables that we use. Is profit a variable that will help us determine whether or not to do a project or not do a project? And the answer to that is not always, for essentially three reasons. Number one is timing. Profit is backward looking, not forward looking. All of our financial decisions are based on predictions of what's going to happen in the future. Cash flows. Profit is an accounting mechanism. It is a calculation on an income statement. It does not reflect anything that you can actually spend. So cash flows are the most important variable in our tool of trying to determine the value of assets. And finally, risk. What's the chance that what we're predicting in the future won't come true? And we're going to measure and talk about all of these variables as we go through this course. So let's continue. What about the concept of somebody that is a stakeholder? Some propose that the goal of the firm should be to maximize stakeholders' welfare. And certainly we should take that into account in our decision making, but our goal in the end is to make sure that the owners of the corporation receive what they've invested in as far as a return. Now, stakeholders, they're employees, suppliers, all of those people, we need to keep them into consideration. But quite frankly, they're not the people that we work for. So we need to think about it. We need to consider it. But they're not the primary beneficiaries of the company. The role of business ethics is critical in understanding how a company should be run. Again, business ethics themselves are just standards, right? The goal of those standards is, number one, is to make sure that participants adhere to laws, etc., but that we understand how people make decisions, right? If people are making decisions that are unethical or illegal, it creates a mechanism in the decision-making process that is now not clear to everybody, right? So ethics are very, very important. So what kind of guidelines should we have? Well, we should just ask basic questions, right? Is the action arbitrary, right? Does it single out a person or individual? Does it conform to accepted moral standards? All of these questions here have something to do with ethical guidelines. Warren Buffett, in one of his interviews, and I'm going to paraphrase him, but he was asked a question about ethics and basically said, look, people come to me and ask about ethics all the time. And my answer to them first is, if you're asking me if something is ethical, chances are it's not, right? So if there's a question, most likely it's not ethical. But on the other hand, he also says, look, if you want to know if it's ethical, if you should proceed, think about if what you're going to do showed up in the newspaper tomorrow and your mother was going to read the newspaper, how would your mother react to this news? If it's good, it's probably ethical. But if your mother thinks that it's bad, or if your mother is somehow, in quotes, ashamed of what you did, then it absolutely is probably unethical. So ethics is a huge question in business. We expect people to act ethically. When they don't, that's when news really happens. So how does ethics affect share price? Well, ethical behavior is part of the idea of working for owners, right? The effective ethics program in a company can increase corporate value by producing positive benefits. Now, these benefits are not always financial. Sometimes they are intangible, but ethics does play a role in how we manage the company, how investors and how the outside world views our company, and therefore it is connected to share price. So thanks for listening to this video. I'll see you in the next one.